Mwai Kibaki was also there, and Mwai Kibaki defeated him in central Kenya. This time round, he has that backing, and also he has been able to cultivate a national constituency as a leader. That's the difference. Right now, he's a very, very strong presidential candidate.
He has gone through the crucible. He is by and large his own man, even as he remains a candidate for status quo. You see, even when you talk about status quo, there will be a wide platform of crown princes or pretenders to the crown. And for you to stand out and to be the one around whom people are rallying, you must have certain inherent, certain endearing qualities that are immanent in you. You are a person who has regenerated yourself to get everybody from definitely your location of the country rallying around you, and then you go further afield. So this is very much a man whom we can call his own man, even as he represents the status quo.
With the presidential contest getting hotter by the day, candidates are spending sleepless nights working on winning formulas. Alliances and pre-election pacts have been sealed and agreements deposited with the registrar of political parties. All these are efforts geared towards attaining the required vote percentage as stipulated in the new constitution, where the winning candidate must garner more than 50% of the total votes cast, and at least 25% of the votes cast in 24 counties. If these numbers are not achieved, a runoff will be held between the two top candidates.
As the conflict in Mali continues to occupy huge space in mainstream international media, Weekend Spectrum highlights one of Mali's endangered and unquantified treasures depleting gradually out of history as a result of a 2-year conflict with Al-Qaeda-inspired Islamist militants and government forces for the soil of the north in what was once a fabled city.
This is the story of the rise and fall of a legendary city and its long hidden legacy of hundreds of thousands of ancient manuscripts. Set against a backdrop of great empires and visionary leaders, it tells how trade routes from the east became ink roads, bringing writing to the heart of West Africa, and how Timbuktu became its leading light, and how invasions and conquest caused that story to be buried, literally. Africa's storytellers, guardians of its history, have had their oral traditions dismissed as mere song and dance, and the assumed lack of a literary heritage interpreted as meaning Africa doesn't have its own intellectual traditions. But now a different truth is emerging that tells us the reading and writing of books has been as important a part of life in Africa as it has in Europe. And as Timbuktu's manuscripts are brought out of hiding, the conviction grows that what they have to tell us may forever rewrite Africa's history.
This box looks like it's been buried. It's covered in dirt and things on the bottom. Why was it put under the ground?
Over the years, we have protected the manuscript from those who wanted to take them away. We have over 4,000 manuscripts in our collection.
What's incredible is that I'm in a small village in Mali, in Africa, on the edge of the Sahara Desert. It's about the last place on earth I'd expect to find manuscripts hundreds of years old. But this is where the search for the lost libraries of Timbuktu really begins.
Europeans dreamed of reaching Timbuktu ever since stories began to circulate in medieval times of a desert El Dorado whose streets were paved with gold. My journey was as mundane as any these days. Several flights and an overnight in Mali's capital Bamako. before the last leg to Timbuktu. It wasn't until the 19th century that European explorers set out to survey Africa and to search for the fabled city of Timbuktu. Their journeys across deserts and along rivers took years, led to violent encounters with desert tribesmen, and cost lives. So Timbuktu became forever synonymous with remoteness and mystery, the farthest place on earth.
I grew up in Sierra Leone, and I've long known that Timbuktu was in Mali, in the Sahara Desert. But it was only passing through here a few years ago I realised there was much more to Timbuktu than meets the eye. That this seemingly unremarkable desert town was once a splendid city of scholars, and from the 13th century, West Africa's most important seat of learning. In Sierra Leone, I've often heard stories of the Alphas, learned men from the north who travelled south to spread the word of Allah. What I'd never realised before is that many of them would have started out right here, in the deserts of Timbuktu. Even Africans are just discovering the story of Timbuktu and its lost libraries.
Probably people educated in Arabic and Islam know something about manuscripts, but I don't think that the general public are aware about manuscripts.
I became aware of the existence of the manuscript not longer than 2 years ago.
It sounded like a joke because my director called me and says, Alexio, you've been requested to go to Timbuktu. Do you know a place called Timbuktu? And I said, no, other than the fact that it's a small, impossible place to get to in Mali, in West Africa.
Until 1960, Mali was a French colony, and French has remained the official language. Only after independence did the custodians of Timbuktu's manuscripts feel it was safe to bring their cultural treasures out of hiding.
This is one of around 30 libraries opened in Timbuktu in recent years. Between them, the libraries have over 70,000 manuscripts.
Timbuktu's libraries are run by families whose ancestors began collecting books and documents 8 centuries ago. The new libraries house whatever remnants of those collections have survived the ravages of time, and their contents offer an invaluable source for a new understanding of West African history. At the Mama Haidara Library, Abdul Qadir Haidara has agreed to show me some of his collection, manuscripts on astronomy, medicine and theology, including commentaries on the sayings of the Prophet.